Interesting.
She's gonna check.
Which word festival downtown?
What did I do with those cough drops you gave me?
It's too bad the beer guy was not shorter and lighter.
I took them off your desk in front of you.
I wish I would have thought of that.
That would have been good, sir. That would have been good. He's not here tonight.
He probably wouldn't miss an opportunity to comment on that, sure.
What's up, Nick?
You all right?
Yep.
I should read this one.
Go for it. It is indeed 7 o'clock.
Carl? Whatever, Kathy.
Hey, Dan. This isn't RT1 line, this is that fee from the county, right? Right? So I don't have to worry about that with Proven, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that we can disconnect, that Proven's gonna do.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I will call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian on June 20th, 2018 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Trustee Cagney? Trustee Crowley?
Here,
Trustee Gillis?
Here.
Trustee Ivan?
Here.
Trustee Killy? Trustee Kreis?
here.
Mayor Lurel?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I will open the floor to public comment. If you would like to be made a matter of public record, please stand, state your name and address. Theda.
Theda Reed, 4233 West 7th Street. And I have several things I want to say. For one thing, I want to tell you how ashamed I am of the village of Midlothian. I think that the treatment that we gave Nicole here after all the things that she did for this village was a disgrace, and I think everybody that had anything to do with it should be so ashamed that they should hide their faces. I hope whoever gets rid of her appreciates her, but we didn't, and she was a great employee. Also, I want to know what happened to the garbage can that I requested for the rain garden over 2 years ago that was supposed to have been put down there. If they don't want to put a garbage can down there, then I think we need to put up a list, and everybody here can sign for what day they're going down there and pick up the garbage. Because it's too much for a couple of people to do. You guys said you would put a garbage can down there, now I don't care where you get it or where it comes from, but I want a garbage can.
Put down where?
By the rain garden at the grills. They throw all that garbage in there, and they might do it even if we had a garbage can. But as long as we don't have a garbage can, I can't complain.
At Grills. Okay. I'm meeting with Ernie from Republic on Monday, so I got a number of things to ask him. I'll ask about that.
And actually, Mayor, I just saw the garbage can in front of, just west of Midwest, where the hair salon is overflowing with garbage. It is strewn everywhere. I was out picking garbage up today, Theda, when I was putting up posters for the parade.
Garbage Monday, so I had to send a card for it.
The garbage can in front of the hair salon was reported to the building department last week.
And it's still, Carl, it's still garbage just coming out of it.
I'll bring it to attention to the building department.
Anyone else?
Should be public works.
It's not our garbage can.
It is a Midlothian means business on it, so that's a village garbage can.
No longer. I checked with Joe, and he said we don't support those or have those anymore. I don't know where they got that one from.
And then they should remove it. It says Midlothian means business on it.
All right. Never moved.
Those are
that type of garbage can isn't available. We asked Ernie already, so.
No, but I'm saying if it's out in the general public, those used to be the village garbage cans. If we're not using them anymore, it should be removed.
Because Republic won't pick that up.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then whoever's used them should be told to empty them or else to remove them.
Yeah, the proper authorities were notified of it to take care of it, and if they didn't, they were going to remove it.
Okay. Senior?
Yes. My name is Jerry Bell, Senior, and I'm 4872 Keystone. And disappointing things, what in the heck is going on with the removal of the two buildings of the diner in the Midwest? We're starting to look like a gypsy town, and I don't think it stinks.
I've had a number of voicemails and left a number of voicemails and emails for Mr. Fino's attorney. He finally got back to me yesterday saying that the demolition company should be getting in contact with our building department shortly to start getting the permit process going.
What does that mean?
State Farm has a demolition company, and they're going to pay them, and that demolition company is supposed to be contacting our building department shortly to start the permit process.
So that means maybe next week they'll start taking it down?
No, they have to get county permits.
Yeah, they have to get a Cook County demolition permit.
I for those a long time ago.
No, Mr. Gillis, the company who's going to do the demolition has to apply to Cook County for a demolition permit, as well as to the Village of Midlothian for a demolition permit.
I mean, if somebody already applied for permits to do that, and those permits are no good to anybody else that wants to take it down?
I don't think anybody applied for permits.
I don't think anybody, yeah, I don't
Well,
think.
somebody told us to, there's somebody told us before that the permits were already applied for, and we were waiting for them to come through.
They were not. They just acquired the contractor to do the demolition, and I know there's some paperwork. The email stated that there was some paperwork that would be completed by the end of the week, and that the demolition company would be contacting the building department soon after that to start the permit process to get the demolition going. So I don't know how long the permit process takes with Cook County. Karen, I don't know if you know.
Takes anywhere from 30 days to 90 days.
It's not anything like ours.
So I want to take it as good news because we've been fighting this for 7 months now. And it's the first sign that I've seen that they're actually going to move forward on it. But the problem is that we were going to do it. It's $40,000 to $50,000, and we were going to put a lien on the property, and that's when I started contacting State Farm attorney and Abe's attorney, and they were working on this. So it just, I was calling and emailing at least once a week, and I just got back an email yesterday. So it's been 2 weeks since I've heard from them.
Well, I'd like to say thank you, but I just think you...
It's not a good situation. Gene?
I got a whole list.
Oh, boy.
I've been really quiet for a long time. Writing things down. Okay. It was my understanding years ago, well, meetings ago, and I think Jerry had brought it up, about all those flag signs and those A-frame signs. I thought they were not allowed.
May I answer?
For Pulaski and Cicero, I counted over 15.
You may answer.
I re-reviewed the ordinance, and those feather flag signs are permitted signs.
Pardon?
Those flag signs are permitted signs. The A-frame signs are permitted on a temporary basis. We re-reviewed the code again, and I asked Attorney Valadez to review the code, and it's, the language, I don't remember it by heart, but there's language in the code that says that certain signs are allowed on a temporary basis. They're not allowed for more than 30 consecutive days in a row, and they're not allowed for more than 60 days in a calendar year. So the issue at hand is, how do we enforce that? How do we keep track of who's putting an A-frame sign in or out for more than 60 days? So the village board, if it's an issue and we determine that it needs to be changed, then we'll have to review our sign ordinance and change our sign ordinance. But for the time being, feather flags are allowed, and the A-frame signs are allowed on a temporary basis, so long as the A-frames do not advertise the business in which they are, advertise the business's name. A business can put a temporary A-frame sign up that advertises, taco special for the day. Or the storage facility can put in a pin sign, which is similar to like an election sign, advertising, special for the month of June, get 1 month free, or something like that. They could do it temporarily, so temporary signs.
Does it have to be on their property, or?
It has to be on their property, it should not be on village
Because
property.
I see a lot of those, like election type signs on public property. on
Right.
Village property.
And they shouldn't be, they should be on their own property.
If you see that, let us know, and we'll let the police department know, and the building department know, and they'll go remove
You
them.
want me to give you the list?
Yes, Jean, seriously, if there are signs that are on village property,
call every
send
time I
me
see
the
one, I
email,
call.
send me the email, and I will
Okay.
give it to the code enforcer, and they will address it.
Those other signs, I mean, like, over by Black Hawk Plaza, I think it is, where Peninsula's is, there's like 6 of them for Metro PC. And I mean, all right, put out 1 or 2, but why you have to have the whole thing full? I mean, it really looks tacky. And it makes the village kind of look tacky.
Okay, I don't disagree, but they're allowed, so.
Maybe you guys should look into changing that ordinance. And there's one place I saw, and I can't remember where it was, but they take them in every night. And then they bring them out, and I can't remember what business it was, but I saw the guy carrying them out, putting them up. That I think is fine, because it's, but out constantly like that, it really looks bad.
Okay.
It looks bad.
I agree.
So, all right, going on to number 2 on my list. I see in your business, Gary, that you have a Class E liquor license. Who is that for, and what is a Class E?
Hog Wild is looking to get a Class E, which is beer and wine liquor license.
Okay, now would that enable them to get a gambling thing there?
That would be a core license, yes.
We don't really need any more gambling places in the whole thing and start to look like little Vegas. All right, Carl, this one's for you. Woo-hoo. What I want to turn off is, I see a lot of like blue jeans and stuff, and to me, that's kind of, for the office workers, I think that's kind of tacky.
And it's not for me then. That's for the mayor.
Okay, for you, Mayor, then. He just shifted the bus to you.
I got it.
Okay, I think business casual, you guys went through all this thing about having these shirts and stuff, and the shirts look nice. Though I didn't agree with it, but, just, I live with it. But now you go in there and they're wearing blue jeans and gym shoes, and it just doesn't look like a professional setting. So that's something that, maybe business casual, khaki pants, dress pants, dark jeans, maybe black jeans would be fine, but raggedy blue jeans, no. Okay. Now, who's next? This might be for you again, Gary. Last year, I brought up about business certificates. Given businesses certificates, were those up and handed out, the things? Because once again, we're coming up, we're asking for lots and lots of donations from the different businesses in town. And I know Alan did a beautiful job getting them all printed up and framed and stuff. Were they ever given out?
No. We had set a date to give them out, and I got an email for you saying that you would like to be there, and we never got a time to do it. They're still on my desk.
Hey, my schedule is open.
So-
Some don't do it on the the third Tuesdays.
We were all set to hand them out months ago, and it never happened, so Clerk Moskal and I have, and Deputy Clerk Clackey, we're trying to get a month every year that we do thank yous to businesses, and we're going to start doing that this year, so. I still have the certificates, we'll have to change the dates and everything, but, so yeah, we did not get them out for a number of reasons, but we will this year.
I just think it would be nice for like some of the committees that have reached out, like the Veterans Committee reaches out to their cats, and so does the CPC Committee. And it's some of our, committee members who reach out to them for help, for donations and stuff to be there. I think, not so much for the CPC, but for any of the committees that reach out to them.
We have a lot of great businesses in town, Hog Wild being one of them, and we should recognize them as often as we can. We plan to start doing that on a regular basis this year.
Okay, now, another question I have. The flags are, I guess I have to live with them. I'm not happy about it, but I guess I can. Is there anything about like businesses that promote their gambling instead of what their business actually does, like sells pizzas or hot dogs or what have you? I mean, on these signs?
I don't think that's addressed specifically in our sign ordinance.
No, it does not, but I have noticed that there is some flashing gambling signs, and whether it's gambling or not, our ordinance does cover flashing signs,
Flashing lights are illegal.
specifically prohibited.
Okay. We'll find this. Okay. Oh, Jerry, have you gone over to the Historical Society at all?
What do you mean?
Seen what a beautiful job Public Works has
Yes.
done? So next week when I speak up, I'm going to compliment Joe and his group for all the work that they did over there. It really looks nice. And I think that might cover everything that I had on my list.
Sure. Sure.
Huh? I haven't seen any, sorry.
Anyone else?
I might not be on that page.
All right, I'll close the floor to public comment and move on to trustee business. Trustee Chris.
The first two items under my agenda, they go together. The first is the approval to execute Antero's permeable parking lot engineering services proposal not to exceed $12,000. The revision of the terms and conditions were not completed until later today. I was a little disappointed in that. However, I hope that doesn't hold up everything tonight on the vote, because I did receive an email from Jim Urick at MWRD today asking for the status of this project. So we want to get moving on the IGA, and with the IGA, they need the operations and maintenance plan and the construction plan. So, does anybody have an issue with this?
Are you making a motion or?
No, I'm just, well, I will,
Well,
I would like, you want to say
May I
something
speak?
first?
I just wanted to let everybody know that I reviewed it today, and I had 3 recommendations that I talked to Attorney Valadez about, and he inserted those into the document, and I sent an email to everyone, and, confirming what those 3 items were, and then Nick sent an email back to me with those inserted, and I believe I copied everybody, so everybody has it in their email. And when I arrived this evening, I tried to print the email, but for some reason, my email only goes until April. I couldn't find, I went to my sent email, and for some reason, there's no
Well,
catch-up.
they're here if anybody wants to
So,
look at them.
but at any rate, I did review the recommended revisions, and I felt that and including the 3 that I made to him today, and I feel that the revisions that were made were satisfactory and sufficient, so.
So trustee Chris made a motion to approve the execute Ontario Group permeable parking lot engineering services proposal not to exceed $12,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Just-
Now is there any discussion?
Just a technical question.
Uh-huh.
Shouldn't we've made it as a motion with the changes? Shouldn't that have been how you phrased it?
Would you like to phrase that?
Well, I'll make a motion for the approval to execute Antero Group's permeable parking lot engineering services proposal not to exceed $12,000 with the updated/revised terms and conditions.
Thank you. And would you second that?
And I will second
Okay.
that.
Is there any more discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Trustee Caveney.
Aye.
Trustee Crawley.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Killy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
And just one comment, hopefully Antero will accept the changes. So that being stated, the second item is approval to execute Antero Group's permeable parking lot geotechnical investigation proposal not to exceed $1,850, including the updated revised terms and conditions.
I'll second it.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Caveney.
Aye.
Trustee Crawley.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Killy.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, clerk, can I get the executed documents so I can get them and
That
we
right
can get
up to the meeting.
started on this project and get moving and get everything to MWRD sooner than later? Okay, continuing in the green infrastructure theme, the second item that I put on the agenda is there is another call for MWRD green infrastructure projects, which is due July 31st, 2018. I was made aware of that last week, so I put it on the agenda. And I know the village engineer sent out something, but if you recall, as a result of the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning 147th Street Local Technical Assistance Grant, we had plans ready to go for 3 additional rain gardens, and we submitted all of these last year with the Keystone parking lot. They only funded the Keystone parking lot, okay? And I think I reported to the board before, Joe Kratzer from MWRD did a presentation on June 1st at the Calumet Stormwater Collaborative on the new call for projects. Said they were tweaking the application, which they did. There's some, I glanced at it, it's a little bit different. They would consider municipalities that abide by the watershed management ordinance that are following ICAP 2. I don't know how competitive we would be this year, but I wanted to run these 3 scenarios by the board. They were for three rain gardens. And I think the one that I'm leaning towards, there were 3 sites, 147th in Colon, 147th in Kilpatrick, and 147th in Karloff, which would be a public-private partnership between the village and St. Christopher's. And Father Chris was very agreeable to this last year. I think this would be a great demonstration project in a public-private partnership. The onus would be on the church then to come up with the additional funding. But we have to apply for it, so I wanted to get everybody's feeling on that. It probably wouldn't take very long to do this because we've already got the grant application done from last year.
Are you recommending that we apply for all 3 or just the 147th in Carlisle?
No, I think, well, I guess I put it out to the board. They're only going to fund 1 if they even fund it. And I think our chances this year for funding may be less because we got funding last year. But I don't know. I don't know. I think it will depend on how many applications they get. You know, if we don't submit anything, we're never going to know.
So are we talking about doing this instead of doing the recommendation that Joe and Tom had?
Yes.
Can't we apply for more than 1 project?
They're not going to fund more than 1.
But there's no reason that, or rule in the application process to say that we can't apply for more than 1, right?
Correct, but keep in mind that we have to pay for the engineering. They don't fund the engineering, and they're not going to fund the project at 100%.
The way I read it was that they're not gonna, it's all reimbursement. It's
Right.
not-
No,
The village, anybody who gets this has to pay for it up front and
well,
then
that's
submit
how,
for reimbursement.
that's how this one is.
No, this is 100% you pay. You don't get any money. There's no 20% match.
No.
You get reimbursed
You
after.
get reimbursed. And that's how the Keystone lot is. We submit the invoices to them after we pay them, and then they reimburse us. That's how most grant applications are. There, you pay up front and then you get reimbursed.
You pay 100% up front and get reimbursed?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
that was not my understanding on any of
Yes.
those.
On,
Okay.
on most of the grants I've been involved with, that's, you pay and then you submit your evidence of payment and then you get reimbursed. They're saying, though, they're not going to reimburse this at 100%. They did not fund the Keystone parking lot at 100%.
What do you think, Don?
I like St. Cruz.
Better than the one Joe proposed?
I know that the engineering for paving the proposed alley will not be inexpensive, but if this is an opportunity for, do we have any, does it say in here what the reimbursement's going to be? Does it say if it's an
We don't know.
80/20?
We don't know what it will be
Okay.
until they, just like with Keystone, even when they awarded us the grant, it took them almost a month, or maybe it was 2 months, for them to determine the funding levels. We did not know,
And what is the funding level on that, 80/20?
no, we don't know.
According to Tom Nagel's email, it's typically 50%.
Wait, time out. The Keystone parking lot,
Yes,
we don't know yet what that funding
Yes.
is? That's what I just asked about.
Okay.
What's the funding on that?
I believe it's $87,000, but they
And what's the
did,
total cost?
well, it's going to depend. It is going to depend on if we run into any issues. I believe the total, I think they funded it at like 75 or 78%.
The Keystone parking
Yeah.
lot? Okay. Well, even if they funded this at 75%,
They may not, it may be 50%. It's a chance we have to take.
even
So
if
I'm
it's
just
50%, personally, I would prefer that if the village has an opportunity to save money, even if it's 50%, to improve our alleys, especially in areas, in, sections of the village where they're in flood zones and there's flooding, I would prefer to improve the alleys if we have an opportunity to get a 50% grant from WRD or anybody. I'm looking on the map. I'm looking on the map. Okay, I'm not quite sure. Is the purple line our village boundary? Is that what that is? Okay. So,
For green infrastructure,
pardon me?
for green infrastructure.
Yeah.
Just so the green infrastructure on the alleys is,
It's permeable.
It's
At least
permeable
what the
pavement.
picture,
Yeah.
looks like. Right?
could be,
Did you look at it?
yep. How much I don't know how much you're going to get.
Trustee Carl Ivan?
The little parking lot was 119,000 or whatever, so I mean, I don't know how many alleys it's going to.
Trustee Carl Ivan, wasn't Nagel and Joe's proposal, didn't some of that engineering, wasn't that already taken care of in their analysis for what their recommendation was?
I'm sorry, Carl.
Didn't some of their engineering parts that Nagel and Joe recommended?
Well, they had a couple different ones.
Yeah, but wasn't some of the
Paving.
engineering rolled into that cost, or?
Paving for the village parking lot and the VFW parking lot, the metro lots, and green alleys.
But there were no costs, there were no dollars, I don't
There were
believe,
no dollars
associated
assigned to it.
with those.
I mean, I
They
can,
also had rain gardens in locations to be determined.
I can just imagine that, if you look at the parking lot and there's that much money, how many alleys are you actually going to get done? That's.
But you have to remember, that parking lot is going to be a solid permeable
Right.
surface.
Right.
This is brick. I don't know if if the cost of this is less than,
Oh, it's way more.
brick is way more?
If those are permeable pavers, they're way more.
Could we get cost estimates from Engineer Nagel to find out what's most cost effective and
That make
looking
a
long-term maintenance and upkeep?
Well, I'm sorry, that was like going to be my question. I know one of the things that we've had to address the whole time with the rain garden here is, and over by Grills, is maintenance and keeping it up and making sure there's someone taking care of it. Would that be included in the cost of, I mean, how would we address that?
Well, if it was on St. Christopher's property, it's St. Christopher's responsibility.
But are they aware of how much upkeep and maintenance is required?
I talked to Father Chris about it, and he was actually last year in favor of reducing the asphalt parking lot. He wanted to reduce the corner there. So he thought it was a great idea. Now, again, I would have to talk to him about it again to make sure he would still be agreeable, but it made a lot of sense also because what helps score your application is they like visibility where it can be used for education and demonstration. So I guess I can email Engineer Nagel and say, can you give us, we don't have to make a decision tonight, but give us some cost estimates so we...
If I'm not mistaken, I believe that Robinson Engineering completed some of these green alleys before, so they may be able to give us a pretty decent rough estimate of what it would cost.
Okay, so I will email Engineer Nagel. See if he
Yes.
can give us some rough estimates for those ideas. And then the last item, and I had emailed the mayor about this, status of Keep America Beautiful Executive Director appointment to replace Jackie Hill. And he said he talked to Maria, and she's going to take it on. I thank you. It's really the Executive Director / team leader. I will get you, I have to make some copies of things. You look real excited.
She is. She's extremely excited.
Yeah, are you? Me too, because I was working on stuff to get us towards affiliation today, and it's been a lot of work. So I will get you the community training manual, and I will get you
It's only 150 pages.
the community appearance index to start. And it's just really, and I won't give you anything else yet, because I'll give you, as soon as I complete the certification package, I won't make you do that, okay? Okay? I wouldn't make anybody do that. Well, it was very difficult to pick up, and Chief Delaney helped give me information. It was really difficult to pick up where our incredible volunteer, Jackie, left off. And I have her files here, and all of her notes, and she was meticulous about everything. So, thank you, Maria. And tomorrow, we have the CMAP Local Technical Assistance Kickoff here at noon. That's on the Stormwater Management Capital Plan. And next Tuesday at 7, Veterans Committee, hopefully we'll have a quorum, because on June 30th is the parade, and getting a lot of entries today. I talked to the folks in Blue Island today, George. So anyway, that, I believe, is all I have this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Ivan.
Thank you, Mayor. Just got a couple of minor things, or not so minor, depending on, I guess, your attitude. Yesterday we had our finance meeting, and we covered the draft audit that we received from our accounting firm, and the results were quite good for that year. We also covered the budget, which was only 40 pages, but a lot of detail that we went through as well, and came up with some ideas on how to move forward with the budget process. The other thing I want to mention is we have a beautification meeting Thursday at 7:15 at the Historical Society. And the Village Garden, which I've been working on with Aunt Martha's, one of their young men were helping me doing the watering. So the garden is coming along really well. We were able to put the dirt in and put the plants in, and it's growing.
It is growing.
It is growing.
There's some peppers out there you got to pick soon.
No, no, just, they're not the hot peppers, man. I think they're banana peppers, so they're bigger.
Oh,
So that'd be it for me.
thank you. Trustee Gillis.
Yes, I would like to bring up a couple incidents that happened in town. I'm sure everybody's heard about them, but these two incidents I'm referring to ended up being life-saving incidents, not because of our police department, not because of our fire department, but because of bystanders that happened to be on the scene at the time and made a positive outcome in the lives of two people. With that being said, I would like to see about getting these individuals at next week's board meeting and honoring them publicly. We've done that in the past.
Can you get Maria their names and a short synopsis of what they did so we can
Yes.
give them a certificate of,
Absolutely.
that'd be nice.
Yeah, it's, it doesn't happen very often, thank goodness, but it did happen, two incidents pretty roughly, pretty close to each other, so, yeah, I think it'd be a nice gesture on the village's part.
Very nice.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Gabby.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, first on my agenda is ordinance 1991 to rezone certain property in the village of Midlothian from R3 and R5 to R2. There's one little change on the first page under finding number 2. It currently reads, proposed map amendment will eliminate hundreds of nonconformities by returning R3 properties to historically zoned R2. I just need to make the addition so that it says R3 and R5 properties, because there are a couple of homes that were rezoned to R5 that need to go back to R2.
Where's it at?
It would be on, actually, page 1 of the ordinance, under finding number 2. Finding number 2, second line reads, returning R3 properties to historically zoned R2. That line should read, returning R3 and R5 properties to historically zoned R2. So with that minor change, I would like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1991, rezoning certain property in the village of Midlothian from R3 and R5 to R2, as amended in finding number 2.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Are we sure we didn't miss any pins?
This is the list that was, I believe,
It's
this is the list.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, roll call.
Trustee Kami?
Aye.
Trustee Kreis?
Aye.
Trustee Crowley?
Aye.
Trustee Gillis?
Aye.
Trustee Ivan?
Aye.
Trustee Killy?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to make a motion for the approval of ordinance 1992, rezoning certain properties in the village of Midlothian from open space to B2 Village Center District.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Kami?
Aye.
Trustee Crowley?
Aye.
Trustee Gillis?
Aye.
Trustee Ivan?
Aye.
Trustee Killy?
Aye.
Trustee Kreis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Pass these down.
Thank you for,
Pass it down.
thank you to everyone that had a hand in getting this done. It was,
Yes, thank you.
thank you.
Next, I want to, and I'll hopefully remember to make this recognition next week also, but Helen Lekovich planted our village flower box out in front, and she planted it with marigolds that she started from seed. And when she planted them, it was pretty warm and dry out, but I also want to recognize and thank Maria, a couple of individuals from the administration department, the building department, and the fire department for volunteering to water the water box every day, except on days it rains. But since the flowers have been planted, they have tripled in size and they've started to bloom. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, it'll look really fabulous. Yesterday, myself, Gwen, Cheryl, and Mike Yukis went to the village of Orland Park, and we met with their building official and with Cheryl Jordan, who is their code enforcement officer. And we just kind of sat down and had brainstorming with them and asked them for, they shared a lot of information with us. So Mike Yukis is going to work with our staff in trying to help us refine some of our process flow and and help us maybe improve on some of our procedures for things. And also, we're going to start looking for building department software. Right now, our building department is in the negative when it comes to automation. There's a lot of things that are still done manually. They do have an access database for keeping track of permits and so forth, but it's not nearly enough automation for our building department to operate efficiently. So we are going to be working on that, and Mike Yukis has generously volunteered to work with us on that.
I'd like to assist if I can.
Oh, that would be wonderful. That'd be great. Yeah, so the Village of Orland Park is migrating to Tyler Gov, which, of course, it's a program I've never heard of. Trustee Carl said she's familiar with it. It can be quite expensive, but, we're a smaller community, so hopefully the impact hopefully it won't be any more expensive than what Public Works paid for Pub Works. So,
I also sent, after we talked, I sent it to Matt and asked him if they would come up with some recommendations for you guys to look at too.
Okay.
So you did get a
very good. Thank you.
variety.
Thank you. Cheryl Jordan very generously also offered to, she gave Gwen and Cheryl copies of a couple different documents and a few different ordinances that we could take a look at to help beef up some of our own building department ordinances. But she has generously offered to come to the village, one afternoon and sit for a couple hours with Cheryl and Gwen and, kind of help them go through things. So I thought that was really fabulous. So we'll schedule that probably in August because of vacations and so forth. With regards to our building superintendent search, I've only received one application so far in the mail. Maria, have you had any others come through? Okay. I reached out to GovHR. One of the emails I was trying to print, I received back in April, but could not get to that email, so I will forward that to you hopefully later this evening. It had a couple of information sheets in there. The sheet that I just passed out to you today is relative to their executive recruitment. They have, at the bottom, you'll see professional outreach. It would be a cost of $2,500, and here they would develop a 2-page position announcement, post position announcements to approved advertising sources and GovHR social media, share announcements with GovHR professional network, and then submit all the resumes directly to the village for review. So I just would like everyone to take an opportunity to review this and give me your thoughts on the village actually hiring a search firm to do an executive search for us.
Do we not want to interview the individual that did apply?
Sure we would, but I think that we would like to have more than one person to interview. So, and after our last meeting, I did post the job opening. Well, Maria helped me, and she posted it. She reached out to SSMMA, and they posted it on the front page of their website. I posted it on IML, and there's 2 or 3 more that I still need to get it posted to. But so far, I haven't gotten any. And of course, it's on our website, and I put it out on Facebook. And it's on our village Facebook also, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So
Anything else?
it's slow. So I think that we may need to consider spending some money to have a recruitment expert help us out. So if you guys want to take a look at this, send me an email, call me, whatever, later on. I would appreciate it. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Kilby.
Okay, at the top of the list is Joe Sperry's. I sent a email to all of you about the fuel delivery system for the village, and it's in need of replacement for 2 reasons. One is it's 33 years old, and basically the parts to repair are not made anymore, so even if you could find the parts, they're going to be very expensive. And the parts have actually been increasing in price as they become scarcer. So that's one reason. Number two reason, which I didn't really realize, is that they used a key system, so each employee was given a key to open up the pump, and basically that was designed to keep track of how much fuel is used per vehicle, but we've way outgrown that, and we don't have enough keys for even the amount of employees and the amount, you multiply it by the amount of vehicles. So the new system would also do a digital system similar to what you're doing for your copiers. You put a code in, it would keep track of each vehicle, what's put in each vehicle. So it would be easier, it could be downloaded off of a flash drive to the Public Works system, and so basically we could keep track of each vehicle. Right now, we're not keeping track of each vehicle. We've lumped together the building department vehicles as well as some fire department, Public Works vehicles also. So just for good control, and also because this thing's going to be outmoded yesterday, Superintendent Sperry has recommended that we replace the system to the lowest bidder, which I believe is $8,504.
You want that on the agenda for approval next week?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
So would this be considered one of those emergency situations since we don't have a final budget?
It is
Yeah.
on the proposed budget.
Oh, okay.
It's in the proposed budget. It's not a new situation. You put it in the proposed budget. But that's a good question,
Okay.
because we got to get used to asking that.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, I'm all for this. If this is something that Public Works needs, I'm
Right.
not going to deny them that. It was just
Right.
because we
right,
had that
protocol,
question yesterday.
Which we
I
talked
just
about
wondered.
at Finance Committee. Newsletter, we haven't really gotten too far with the newsletter. I haven't got any helpers. I do have, except for 2 copy readers, and I think that's very valuable. Maybe we'll have a third one. So basically, I'm going to take the job on of writing the articles and taking the photographs. I think once we get the newsletter in process and in people's homes, then we can do a better job of recruiting for helpers. I asked before about what kind of topics each department or would like to have in there, and I only got something from the building department. So I'd like to have an idea of what kind of topics each department would like. Also, from economic development and so on and so forth. Committees, do they want anything in there? And I'd like to have that all by next week because I want to get started.
Could you send us an email?
Could
you send us an email
That's
asking
a good
what you
idea.
want?
I'll send an email to everybody but the kitchen sink, and we'll see what we get. Not all the topics are going to be on there, but I think, just having an idea what everybody wants and then seeing what kind of space we have. I'd like to have a formal newsletter. I know we talked about it, putting in the water bill. I don't think that has the same impact. I think we need something that's more impactful. Water bill informational mailing. So, I know everybody's seen this, because they get one. They get one once every 3 months, but I think we should talk about this now, what kind of information we want in our informational mailing, so that we can inform our residents, the water users, about how they're getting charged.
Well, I know we've put a couple things in there from the police department, like things that we're doing and things like that.
Okay. Well, I'm talking about, I know as far as the newsletter?
No,
This? Okay.
we've used it, what did we use it for? What did you put in there, Dan? There were a couple things.
Why did you give us your bill?
Coffee with a
I gave
cop.
this bill because basically what was talked about last meeting was that we should inform our residents about why they're being charged this on the water bill, how it's calculated, what it's used for, et cetera, et cetera. So my intention is to write that, and I'm asking for the board's ideas about what I should put in there. I have some ideas myself, and I'll talk about them first, and everybody can fill in the gaps, which may be many, about what I'm talking about. Basically, the sewer usage, of course, is to maintain the sewer system everywhere, everything from maintaining it, little and small with big and small breaks. And also the biggest thing this year, of course, is that we have spent for about $450,000 on lining the the hot zone that is in the sewers that are in the worst shape in the area. And that will probably be going on for some years to come because of that's just the hot zone, not the ones that are, the rest of them isn't in good shape. So the sewer charge is based as a percentage of use from the water. Water use is how these sewer charges calculated. If we raise the water rate, it doesn't necessarily raise the sewer rate.
And we might want to point out also, there are some communities, my sister lives in Lockport, and when she gets her water bill, whatever her water bill is, they charge her the same for sewer. So if her water bill's 100, she gets charged 100 for sewer. So we might want to point out that there are communities that charge, 100% for sewer usage based on their water usage. Our sewer usage is only, whatever it is, 25, 30%.
And did we ever change that last year when we talked about it?
The sewer usage?
Wasn't there a figure that someone was coming up with a figure to make sure that it was balanced?
We talked about it. We talked about a lot of things. One thing was originally, a long time ago, in a place far, far away, we were going to try to take some of the cost of the sewer fund and put it in the general fund. Obviously, that's not going to happen now because the general fund is in deficit. But this, the sewer fund this year has a deficit of $450,000. That's going to keep on going because the sewer fund is not going to get any more revenue. So, and I think to your point too, does everybody want a comparison of our rates to other towns for sewer and water? Because that's basically going to make us look pretty good in the first place. Is that going to be helpful?
Well, I think it would if we have to make some decisions, it'll show us where we stand.
Well, I'm
compared
getting that for the residents too, to get an idea that
Right.
we are pretty charge efficient on this. So I think talking about a comparison for sewer and water is probably good.
And Don, do you
Yeah.
recall to help you put this together? There was a one-page form that was developed explaining
Nicole
our
did it.
water bill.
Nicole did it.
Yeah, so that might help
I
you.
think it was on our front counter.
And I don't know what happened to it, but I'm thinking if you can find
Find the
that,
document, yeah,
it
I
could
would
probably
agree.
give you a good starting point if
I
you're
would agree.
trying to explain this, because it was,
I would agree.
I think SSMMA also has a lot of the comparative rates compiled already.
Who has
They
it?
may be able to provide that, SSMMA.
Oh, yeah, that's right. They have a lot of comparisons. Okay, so next would be the garbage fund is just a pass-through. Basically, we don't add anything to that. Administrative is for the cost of administering this billing, administering the billing especially for the billing for these different items, keeping track of the usage for the water.
Following up on the bills, payments.
Yes, and also for past due bills and turn-offs, things like that. Anything else on that?
Our billing,
By me?
our billing contractor.
Yes. Okay. Online, what you're saying?
No, that's free, actually. It's the mailing
PSN?
company.
The mailing.
is free.
PSN's the payment.
Right.
Third
There are some
millennium.
fees we're large.
Third
yeah,
Third
Third
millennium.
millennium.
Yeah. Okay.
And we also don't charge fees for, I think unless this has changed recently, we're not charging fees for payments through PSN, even though we get charged a fee.
Yeah, we actually talked about that yesterday, didn't we? I think there was a lot of fees that we paid. What was that number, Carl?
Was a credit card, debt collection, things of that nature. Those are,
And it was pretty high.
For the Metro lots.
Right.
Metro
Yeah,
lots
those
was
credit card fees were for Metro lots.
$40,000 or something, such thing, I believe it
Oh,
was.
that was for Metro, that's right.
Do you have any idea how much PSN charges? Because I pay through PSN, and I believe I set it up to pay monthly. Do you have any idea?
It's very small in comparison to like the Metro lot, because there's actually a utility, it's a different classification of charge. And I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's very
That
small in
study was done
comparison.
and PSN was a clear winner on that, I believe.
And we negotiated some things with them, and it's really very small.
So on the penalties, we don't charge an extra, what you're saying on the penalties, we don't charge an extra administration fee?
No.
I want to make sure I got all this straight, and I'll write this out, and the board will look at it again and see what's going on. Water usage, we can talk about, oh, I'm sorry, we got to talk about infrastructure. Infrastructure, the fee was from the 2000, what is it, 10?
2010.
2010.
Wasn't it 2010 A bond?
Bond fund for the water tower, water mains, water meters, valves, and I can get the exact figures for that. That's what it, and I forget how long the bond goes to, I think it's 2034, something like that. I'll look. But the only thing I really want to ask here, we want to talk about, that we do mark up the water bill, from our cost to,
Number.
to what we charge the residents. Do we want to be transparent about that?
When does if we're gonna put this on the bill, it's gonna take 3 months, 3 different cycles for everyone to get this. So I would not be opposed to raising the water rate, but let's put it on here in this note that that's gonna happen. And then let's set the date for like October and November after everyone receives this and everyone's been notified.
We did raise it the pass-through amount, we didn't raise it the additional amount.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If we wanna raise it additional, like the village has always done in the past, to Sandy's point last time, she and I are kind of in agreement on that. We don't have an issue with doubling the pass-through, but it would be nice if the residents understood the water bill and what accounts for all of it, and to let them know that that's gonna happen.
Okay,
We're already charging double.
Right, well.
except for the 6 cents. But we can
Still
basically
double
talk,
what Midmark
yeah,
charges
basically
us.
talk, our policy is to charge double. I mean, I don't think that should be a state secret here. And the last thing I want to ask, I want to make people aware of is certainly that Chicago's going to raise the rate every year to the CPI. So people should know that basically they're going to get a raise.
Every year it's gonna go up.
They can expect a raise. So,
And that's probably an important piece of information you should put in there
Oh,
also.
absolutely. Want to make sure everything's straight.
That these raises are just not pie in the sky, we're just
Right.
not pulling this out of a
Right,
hat.
because Chicago raises it.
Right.
They are our supplier. We are getting our water directly from Chicago, and that will show up in our comparisons, so will look good. So, anything else that I didn't think of, or? No? Good? Okay, so I'll try and have that expeditiously so we get that going. Roof repairs, I basically asked Superintendent Sperry for what he knew about roofs. He gave me 2 folders of bills. No diagrams, no nothing, basically 2 folders of bills, and they basically go back to about 1999. They don't go any farther back there. That's what he's got. That's, unless we go into the gun range, but I will.
Good luck.
I'll make an Excel spreadsheet of what I know, who the vendor was, what it covered, what the warranty was. That's about it.
Status on the fire department wall? Fire department back wall?
He does have everything, including the last, well, I have to look and see where the zones are, what's going on. I pretty much, from what I saw, it was the front and this area here. I didn't really see too much where the fire department was done, but I'll have to look again.
No, the
No.
repair of the wall.
The repair of the
Of the
wall,
back wall
the
of the
pile
fire
of bricks that are in the driveway.
Yes.
That's what the mayor's asking
And what do you
about.
want to know, sir?
Status update. The contractor, Joe was working on that too, I think. Did you get the information? from
Billy
you?
was working on it,
I didn't
and I
have the
thought,
information.
Pardon?
Oh,
I told them that.
so you didn't have any bids
Joe
from
took it
anyone?
over,
Well, that was all sitting in the superintendent's office.
but I thought, you're right, I think,
Is
I
the
think
folder
Joe
still
took-
in the superintendent's office?
I don't know, I haven't been in there in a couple
Did you look
months.
at that?
let me find out, I thought Joe took it over, but he doesn't have anything for this, so maybe I'm totally mistaken.
Okay.
I have two other quick comments, and one is I think we need our sign ordinance revised, and I think that's a great project for the planning committee. And secondly, we talked last night at the finance committee about, what was going on with the streets, and they asked about an account for the sidewalks. Talked to Superintendent Sparrow today, I got a little more lowdown on it, but basically, next year we won't, we'll have some money to do the streets, but not a ton. And basically, he had increased an account to $50,000 for the sidewalks, just on the chance that we might approve it, because there's a lot of sidewalks, especially on the east side of town, that are older sidewalks that are in terrible shape. He does the worst of the worst, but he thinks there's a lot more that needs to be done. I would like to put it out there that we have a capital improvement plan for equipment. I would like to have streets and sidewalk, a capital plan created for streets and sidewalks too, because the streets are getting pretty bad. Some of the streets this year, he put a bigger line item for streets repair, because some of them have just gone to heck, and he needs to scrape them off, and then, not instead of recoating them. And he says there's a lot of streets that, what he's doing is the worst of the worst, but there's a lot of streets that are just a little bit behind it. So if we let this go for too long, I don't know where we are. I'm not sure, but it seems to be, again, what you're talking about with the squad cars would apply to the streets. Preventive maintenance is a lot cheaper than waiting. With the sidewalks, a lot of the sidewalks are just terrible, just terrible. And, I think, again, for safety reasons and just because it's maybe the right thing to do, that we maybe should try to have a planned sidewalk improvement.
I think that's a good idea.
So,
Don, do you recall a couple months ago, I found a grant opportunity from CMAP, and it had to do with a plan for streets, and I sent it to Joe, and he applied? Could you check with
Oh, I
him?
don't know.
Do you remember that?
I don't know.
They were gonna do,
A streets grant?
yeah, it was for, I can't remember, it was for an inventory.
Oh, yeah. right.
Remember
The
that?
management, yeah.
Yeah.
There's a street that came from, okay.
CMAP, see if you
Right.
ever heard anything on that.
Okay, a lot of the sidewalks he's doing them close to where the RTA is. yeah,
Access to Transit
Because he
Grant.
figures he can get a better price, because a contractor will be there already doing those, and he can plug into those, and a lot of those sidewalks are the worst of the worst anyway. So I would ask that we look at that also, and that is all.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Crowley.
Thank you, sir. Just a couple things tonight. First on my list is the discussion of the, a while back, we had a discussion at one of our meetings that I had spoke to our police and fire commissioner, and he had asked if 2 additional members could be put on the board. We had asked the attorney to check into that, and unfortunately, he has uncovered that by statute, the fire and police commission is limited to 3 members. So I have notified Mr. Jones that we will not be able to increase that. So he is aware of that. Next, I had sent everybody, or maybe, no, I did not send anybody an email on this. This was just on the agenda. The police department is asking for our community service officer. to be sent to the part-time police academy. It is $2,000. However, that $2,000 upon completion is reimbursable, so it would not cost the village anything. And what that would enable the police department to do is to be able to use our CSO not only for CSO duties, but to also allow him to have some police powers so that we could use him in other areas when necessary as well. So I will be asking for approval of that for next week unless anybody has any problems or concerns. Again, it's a $2,000 program that is fully reimbursable from the Illinois Police Training Board, right? Is that the right one? Training centers. So we pay for it up front, and then once he completes it, it gets reimbursed to the village.
Is there a way to incorporate a agreement like the fire department has for their part-time employees if we send them to training, that they have to?
I did think about that, but since we won't be paying anything actually for this, because it's fully reimbursed, who would we have him reimburse?
What if he doesn't pass the academy and we get billed for it?
Oh, I was thinking if you meant if he left in a certain amount of time.
Either or, but I mean, if we did have to get billed for it.
I'm not sure how that works.
For staying with us. I mean, I think there should be some accountability for our part-time employees if we're sending them for training. You know, maybe this class may be reimbursable if he passes or she passes, but what if we choose to send them to other training?
Well, and that's what I did in the past. We did that with Chief Rafferty, our Deputy Chief Rafferty. He did sign an agreement that for 4 years after going to the training he's going to, it would be, he would have reimburse partials if he didn't stay with the village. But I didn't ask for that with this because there is no cost to the village once he passes. And I'm not sure that we could ask him to reimburse us if he failed, if he fell and broke his leg, or if he got sick, or, just wasn't able to. I'm not sure that we could enforce having him reimburse us for that. That would be a question for the attorney.
Are you asking him now?
I was, if he has the answer.
Contractually, we could probably do it. I'm just not sure that, I think you're correct, that if the part-time employee put forth the effort to pass, I don't know that would be a good policy to put, that kind of risk upon someone who is in good faith attempting to avail themselves of the training and just doesn't succeed.
So, I'm not sure what you would suggest with that then. But if nobody has a problem with that, I'd put it on the consent agenda for next week. Also, we have been asked the crossing guards have asked the police department to consider an increase to their salary. Currently, the crossing guards make $11.22 an hour. They have not had a raise for that in 9 years. Is that correct, Chief? 9 years, I'm right? At least 9 years, they have not gotten an increase that we can find. So Chief Delaney has budgeted in the part-time crossing guard compensation to raise that $1 this year if there's no concerns from the board. Yes.
We did raise the crossing guards, but it wasn't that much. But could we have a comparison from the surrounding towns just for backup?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know we're always low.
I blind copied everybody when I sent the RFQ for information for cost and specs for a new police department. I sent that to Attorney Valdez for review. I also blind copied the board on it. If anybody has the chance to review it, if you could send me any comments or concerns. We're doing this to get an idea of what it would cost us, what we would need space-wise, and ideas from some of the public on what we would need. So I sent that to the attorney for review. If anybody could get me any of their comments or concerns, I'd make those changes before I brought it to the board. What else do I have? I sent a email yesterday, I believe. I know it wasn't 48 hours, but we can discuss it next week if anybody would like to read it first, if they didn't have enough time. The police department is asking to dispose squad number 113. It's a 2011 Crown Vic with just under 98,000 miles. It's run the course of its life, and we'd be asking to dispose it next week unless anybody needs more time. I could motion it up next week instead of putting it on the agenda if you guys want to read more about it.
Is it like, is the engine falling out and the wheels are falling off?
It's just reached the end of its use, so we would be selling it and then putting that money into, what does that go into, the fund for something?
Oh, okay.
The reimbursement fund or whatever it
Oh,
is for
okay.
the
I
general
wasn't sure
fund.
if those were like recycled to another village department for use.
We sell, it's been strict, so everything that's useful out of it, the camera, there were like 6 things on there that they take all that off, all of our decals and everything, and then they sell it to, I believe it's a,
Auction.
what's the guy's name?
Louis.
Louis. Yeah, but what is it called? He's a wholesaler, right?
Sure.
Sounds good.
Okay, that's who we dispose it.
Can I just ask, the little building department car that Fred drives, where did that come from? Because I'm sure the village didn't buy a car. for
We
the
did,
building
we bought
department.
that brand new.
Really? For the building department?
Years ago, yeah.
Okay. Well,
From the Ford dealer.
it's a special ride, let me tell you. I rode in it yesterday.
I did. She has it. She has it.
Yeah, it's a little rough.
Perfect.
Feels like it's on a truck chassis.
Anything else?
Just a couple more updates. The police department has been working on revitalizing and initiating some new programs. The Explorer program, which is the teen program, is being rejuvenated, and we do expect in the next month that we will start having things put out and taking applications to revitalize our Explorer program. So we're really excited about that. New initiative that they're starting that is going to be going out is a camera registration program where the police department is asking residents who have their own personal video surveillance in front of their homes or garage, if they'd like to, it's a completely voluntary program, they can register, they can fill out a form, send it to the police department, and in the event that the police department is looking for any type of video footage for a crime or an accident, they can contact that owner and have the owner review their own security to see if they captured anything. Kind of a police and community collaboration to get everybody working together. It would not, the police would not have access to anyone's video, nor would they watch cameras or anything like that. It would just be in the event that there's an incident in front of Bremen High School, they could call me and say, Ms. Crowley, you have a camera on your house. Would you look on Monday at 2 o'clock and see if you saw anything, or allow the police to view that?
That would be
So-
something good for the newsletter.
Yeah. So that's another initiative that we're starting.
Does the police department have any enhancement software that, if that was to happen?
Not yet. We don't have anything.
We don't normally use some vendors that do have it, and a lot of times we use the Chicago Reclamation Forensic Laboratory downtown. So from my understanding, digital footage can't be enhanced all that much. It's the old technology that had the ability to be enhanced. Digital is pretty much is what it is.
Did I put some of those? Camera Explorer. The police department is also putting a initiative together to educate and assist residents with some of the burglaries to autos that we've had. This is the time of the year we all, thank you to the safety committee and Jean for constantly reminding people to lock it or lose it. But we do notice this time of the year, people who leave their cars unlocked are easy pickings for being vandalized and for having people go into their car and steal change, take things out of the glove box. So police department is putting together a initiative and a campaign to get people to work with them to make sure everything is locked. So that's something we'll be rolling out this summer as well. Trustee Killily and Mayor LaRue and I have been working on getting a structural engineer to come out, maybe that's not the right term, but a structural person to come out and do an assessment on the entire building, give us an estimate on what's wrong, what they think is needed, approximate costs, and things like that. I have finally was able to get a hold, we went back and forth with someone that Tom Nagel had recommended, and they recommended us to somebody else who they thought has done more of these and would probably better be able to give us ideas in writing on what things and repairs would cost. I also talked to Trustee Cavaney about the possibility of using some of our on-staff inspectors to do things, to go through and look at the electrical and things like that. So we are working on that. I'm hoping by next week we'll have a date certain that this gentleman can come out and we can do a walkthrough.
And you're hoping to do that next week?
I'm hoping to have a date by next week.
Okay.
Last week, when they sent us the information on the new person, he was out of town. So he got back to me today, as a matter of fact, and I think that's all I have.
Tomorrow is the senior event at the police department.
Oh, Lord, I can't believe I forgot that. Was number one on my list. I'm sorry, apologize. Yes, tomorrow is the big day. I had it circled, stars, I apologize. We are having our first annual senior seminar. The police department has invited residents, our seniors, to come in, talk to them about crime prevention, not being victimized by identity theft, and we are hoping for a big turnout. So,
Senior moment, huh?
you know, I had it written down, I had it circled, I had it starred, and I just cannot believe I forgot it.
What time was that?
1 o'clock in the roll call room.
Sandy, with regards to this inspection, are you waiting for the structural engineer to call you to tell you what date he's available?
He called me today, I didn't get a chance to call him back yet.
Okay,
So I'm going to ask him when I call him tomorrow.
okay.
And we also have to approve the cost.
Yes, I mean, we're going to talk about,
But I mean, okay.
yeah. Well, he did say on his message, so I can clarify that. He said he'd like to take a look at the building before he
Right,
gave us a
right.
quote on what it would cost us to get the report.
Right.
So,
Now is there anything else?
besides the senior seminar tomorrow, no.
Okay. Attorney Valdez, do you have anything today?
Got that.
We had our second meeting with the International Union of Operating Engineers. They have provided us their proposals. We have provided them our proposals. We've developed a cordial and professional relationship, and at the next meeting, we'll mix it up. Our streak of not being named as a defendant in a lawsuit of 10 months has come to an end. It's regarding a pro se pauper's petition individual who sued 17 municipalities for FOIA issues. My review of it indicates that it is not substantial. It doesn't even state a cause of action, in my opinion, given that having reviewed the response, the village responded appropriately and even more than what we had to. So we will deal with that along with the other 17 municipalities who will be in court that day.
And this is a suit regarding FOIA?
Regarding FOIA, yes, you're supposed to exhaust your remedies with the Public Information Officer's Office of the Attorney General's office. He skipped that part, and he just filed a suit because he didn't like the answers that we provided in our FOIA. That is not grounds for litigation, and the unfortunate part about this is this is going to be 17 village attorneys or representatives from municipalities in the Markham Courthouse, and this individual had all of his filing fees waived. So
Really?
that's it.
There'll be a motion to dismiss.
It will be a motion to dismiss, and I'm fairly confident that this will be a one-court thing.
Okay. Under my business, you have an ordinance in front of you, ordinance 1990, an ordinance authorizing the increase in the Midlothian Market and Water Commissioner compensation. Agreed to the ordinance effectively in 1999. The state statute was amended to allow for the commissioners to receive an annual sum of $2,000 per year but Midlothian never did that, so I believe we should. So I am looking for a motion to approve ordinance 1990, authorizing an increase in the Midlothian Mark and Water Commission Commissioner compensation to $2,000.
I'll make it.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Ivan?
Aye.
Trustee Crawley?
Aye.
Trustee Caveney?
Aye.
Trustee Gillis?
Aye.
Trustee Killy?
Present.
Trustee Kreis?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. The only thing else I have on my agenda is Mr. Pecors from Hog Wild is applied for a liquor license, a Class C liquor license. And in fact, he would like to put some gaming machines in his establishment. I believe when the Village of Midlothian first voted to allow gaming in town, it was to help our longstanding great businesses such as Hog Wild. Bartolini's has it, Canute's has it. So I am in favor of increasing the Class C liquor license by one, and I will be asking the board to approve that next week if, in fact, Attorney Valadez could have that ordinance ready within 48 hours of next week's meeting. If not, we will do it at the next meeting. That's all I have. Clerk, possible.
Just two items. One, a reminder. I think we talked about this last week and in a few other meetings, but a reminder about our 48-hour rule. We embarrassingly removed a number of items last week from the agenda because they hadn't been received by everyone, or the final documents hadn't been received by everyone 48 hours in advance. This is not the first time this has happened. In many cases, myself or Maria has warned board members that that would likely happen had the documents not be provided in time. And I think in many cases there was a good faith effort that they would be delivered in time for the meeting, but they weren't. So please be conscious of that. Just because we say we will have something by the meeting does not mean that the board members will have those documents in their hands. And everybody has a right to see those and review those 48 hours before the meeting. So please be considerate about that. If we question you or ask you, are you sure they're going to be delivered or when will they be delivered, that is why. So we can hopefully prevent that from happening again. The second one, regarding the calendar, the 4th of July holiday happens to fall on a Wednesday, so there will be no meeting that week. We will have a committee meeting on the 11th, which means we'll need to get Maria any agenda items that you need for that meeting by Monday, July 9th. It will be a board meeting on July 11th. So we will have two board meetings and one committee meeting in the month of July. And that is all I have.
Speaking of that, the Independence Day Parade coming up, the village will have a float in the parade, no charge to the village. Mr. Hilly and his wife provided their float again, so all are welcome to attend, be on it, walk with it, or whatever they want to do.
May I interrupt one more time?
Yeah.
Because I'm not reading my own notes today. I did have one more thing to bring up, and you reminded me when you said about the 4th of July. The police department and other department heads have begun a process of an emergency action plan for major events. 4th of July will be one that they're using it for, where they get together with the Park District and all the other government agencies that are involved so that a plan can be put in place in concrete, in writing beforehand, to make sure that all of the emergency needs with the police, fire, public works building, whatever might acquire, are taken care of. So this is our first one. Chief Delaney just got through with the action plan for the 4th of July, and so we're hoping that that just increases the safety and the fun of everybody in hand.
Unfortunately, when I looked your way, I also saw Trustee Killy's hand up, so I must acknowledge.
Well,
Trustee Killy. Trustee
so,
Killy.
I guess our ordinance prevents us from having two committee meetings and one board meeting. Is that what the deal is? I mean, I think that would make more sense, and if we needed a special meeting for a committee, then I think that would work out better, because we'll have two board meetings in a row, and what's going to be the content of the board meeting?
Correct, so if there are, well, we won't have two board meetings, well, we would have two board meetings in a row.
It'll be board
We're not
meeting,
meeting on
committee
We're not
meeting,
having a
board meeting.
committee meeting on the 4th.
Yeah.
So we're not having a committee meeting.
Right.
The next week is a board meeting, then the
Right.
following week's committee, then the following week
But
is
I
a
was
board.
talking about, so,
And if we,
like, the last meeting is gonna be the board meeting
the last meeting
Oh,
of
I
July.
see.
of June.
June. So he's talking board meeting, board meeting. I
Board
got
meeting,
you.
board meeting. So there won't be any committee meeting in between, so there, what's the content of the board meeting? That won't be discussed beforehand. So wouldn't it be easier just to have committee, board, committees, so that we could make
And
a
you'll have
special?
two committees in a row.
Well, but we could have a special committee meeting if we wanted to pass something.
But it's already on our yearly schedule to have a board meeting that day.
Well, that's what I was, is that,
And again, when we discussed this before, the tradition of the Midlothian board using the special committee meeting or the special board meeting under the ordinance as a way to take action preceded the Open Meeting Act. And so therefore, the only requirements upon this board are that it be agended, it be properly noticed under the Open Meeting Act. So you can do whatever you want to do as long as you comply with the Open Meetings Act. It is an artificial distinction between a regular board meeting and a committee meeting. And I'm not suggesting that we make them all the same, not at all. What I'm saying is that is something that we impose upon ourselves to orderly, just as you said, trustee, have a committee meeting in which we get into in-depth detail, and then we have an action meeting. That makes sense, that's tradition, that's what most municipalities do. I can only say, though, that is a distinction that we make. If it's properly noticed and properly agended, you can do whatever you want.
oh, I would
Or
prefer
could
it
I-
the other way.
Could I make a suggestion?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know, everybody would love to have a night off, but when this has happened before, the board has met the night before. And we could have a committee meeting on July 3rd. We've done that before when the Christmas holiday, I think you've been around for some of that, Alan.
I'm not gonna be here July 3rd.
Pardon me?
I'm not gonna be here July 3rd.
There's
I
also
don't think I will
an
be
option
either.
to
I won't
have
be
the
here July 3rd either.
committee meeting immediately before the board meeting if you want. Again, it's noticed and agended, you could have committee immediately following the board.
Committee at 6, board meeting at 7?
Perfectly acceptable.
Why?
I do have one more
Why?
thing that I need to add about
I don't understand
next
why.
week's meeting.
I don't know.
No, that's-
A meeting's a meeting. I don't know what we're.
So you don't mind if we, at the board meeting, we discuss things?
Correct.
Okay,
If we
all
want
right,
to
because
approve,
in the-
if we want to discuss it and approve it, though, we need to put the approval of that on the agenda.
Right. I don't know if that's a good policy, but personally, I would rather have the week in between the meeting to vet it. rather
But
than
the week
put it-
is still there, there's just not a meeting. I mean,
So the
there's
board-
there's no reason that you can't share that information with the board and that it can't be discussed at that meeting.
Right, whatever
Or that
comes
you
up
can't have
between
it.
now and next week, you could discuss it next week,
Mm-hmm.
and then approve it 3 weeks later at the next board meeting. But if anything urgent comes up, to the mayor's point, or to maybe it was the attorney's point, we could have a committee meeting at 6, and then a board meeting at 7. So, is anything urgent, that urgent going to come up between now and then, do you think? I mean, it's kind of,
If it
Please
does,
don't ask that
If it does, let
question.
us know.
Please don't ask that question.
Mayor,
Trustee
if you
Cap.
please, I have one thing to add.
Just going around the horn, huh?
Deputy Clerk Kalaki already has this line item for our agenda next week. We are going to have a special presentation at the beginning of next week's board meeting. I am happy to announce that Paul Osmond from the IDNR's Office of Water Resources and Luen Pedalero, who is our CSO liaison with FEMA, are going to be at our board meeting next Wednesday to present the mayor and the board with our official CRS plaque. I was told that typically these plaques are sent in the mail, but the email that I received from Mr. Osmond said that Midlothian was such a fabulous, wonderful case that he felt it was necessary that they present our plaque to us in person.
And the FEMA flood insurance policies went out, and it did reflect a 15% discount.
Woo, very good.
Is that it?
On mayor point of order, our side did not have the equal time as the other side did. I think in fairness, we should end the meeting as quickly as possible.
At this time, I'm looking for a motion to go to closed session to discuss the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, and is requested by Trustee Carol.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? In the eyes of the chair, the ayes have it. There is no further business